Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about whether Patrick Mahomes would be catching up with Tom Brady, and now we're going to be diving into the Dallas Cowboys. But first, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from the viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Let's put your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Tate is back, everyone.
Yeah, you got a brother over here running. I may be breathing hard over here. Brother's not in as good a shape as he should be. So, all right, I'm good though. That I had to. It's like since moving to Europe, it's now I just divide my friends up. I got my best friend west of the Mississippi, best friend east of the Mississippi, and then I have my best friend in Europe. And that was my best friend from Europe just flew in, him and his wife and their kids. They just got in. I forgot they were coming in. So I look over to the right of me and I'm like, oh, there's Alex who flew in from Germany. So, and here's a weird thing. They barely speak English.
Oh, really?
And we don't speak German. And we hang out all the time, weeks at a time, hours and hours at a time, between broken English, Google Translate, and charades, pretty much. Like one day, she's trying to. Anne is Alex's wife, and she's trying to say cow. And so she's over there, and next thing you know, she says, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I realize she's milking a cow because it's this weird world I have by living in Europe with all these languages that I am slowly learning. Like I have a little bit of Spanish, a smidget of Portuguese, and then, French, German. It's just it's some challenges here. Anyway, didn't mean to give you a little behind the scenes of my life here.
That's so funny that he's your best friend and you guys can like barely understand each other.
No, we have a black. We do like they're here. We'll spend pretty much every day they're here, and probably I'm gonna say 50% of the words, the rest of them are Google Translate and charades. We have a blast. I know you that's got to be weird. That's got to be weird to you, right?
Well, I mean, we have I have a coworker at the restaurant that I work at. He does not speak any English at all, but we'll sit down and have conversations sometimes, but it'll mainly just be me like smiling and nodding my head and then using Google Translate later to figure out what he said.
Oh no, I'm using it right then and there. I'm not pretending like, no, dude, I have no clue what you just said. Type that sucker in.
All right.
So.
Well, since you are a Cowboys fan, I figured this would be the first thing that we would discuss. Are the Cowboys having second thoughts on who to hire as a defensive coordinator? The Dallas Cowboys might be having second thoughts about hiring Mike Zimmer as their next defensive coordinator. On Sunday, ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter reported they plan to hire the former Minnesota Vikings head coach. During a Monday appearance on the Pat McAfee show.
Pat McAfee.
McAfee.
I got you.
McAfee, Schefter recanted his report, noting that the Cowboys and Zimmer haven't agreed to a deal, and ESPN analyst Rex Ryan could still be in play. The former Jets and Bills head coach also implied Dallas was still interested on Sunday, saying, "I'm not so sure Zimmer has the job right now." So, I know we talked about this before, I believe.
Yes. Okay. So here's the situation. This is smidget an old story, but I'm going to give some update to it and then talk about it a little bit as well. So I actually watched this. Adam Schefter comes on, and they pretty much agreed that Zimmer was going to be the new defense coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
and he's announcing that. And um, oh shoot, I can't think of his name now. The other guy that they're kind of Rex Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Rex Ryan looks at him like, no, my man, that's not true. And he's kind of reporting that, and he's like, I can tell you firsthand that's not a done deal. And so he's like, okay. And then yesterday, they finally announced that Zimmer is going to be the new defensive coordinator. Okay. So that's where I'm bringing it up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more to this story. And the way everything sounds, and Zimmer's been with the Cowboys for years. And so I have a soft spot for him. He was a great coach in Minnesota. And he was amazing with the Cowboys. But the way it sounds like that the Cowboy organization, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, they really liked Rex Ryan and had decided on Rex Ryan, and they couldn't come to terms on not necessarily the money, but the length of time on the contract. Rex wanted a long-term deal, and they did not want to give a long-term deal. So it sounds like they decided to go with Zimmer. But then I think they started having those second thoughts because it's kind of like Jerry, they had their mindset that they really wanted Rex Ryan. So they decided, hey, we've decided this direction, but let's go revisit this one more time. And that's the reason why when they announced it that, hey, Zimmer's going to be the coach, and Rex was like, no, that's not true. Because he knew he had another meeting with them, and they wanted to offer him the job. And then ultimately, they could not come to term on time. From everything I am seeing, everything I'm reading, it comes down to not the contract terms, the length. And I think they tried really hard to get Rex Ryan. Now, this is very interesting to me because both coaches would have worked well in Dallas. And I try to look at it as not only do you have to have a defensive coordinator that can handle this talent, because the Dallas Cowboys have one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think both of these guys could have done a great job. But sometimes if you're not a Cowboy fan, or even if you are a Cowboy fan, there's another dynamic you have to understand. And that is, are you able to work well with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, which is a more family-esque environment? They run it like a big organization, but they run it more like a family. And ultimately, I think the right decision is Zimmer because of the fact that he has worked with the Dallas Cowboy organization for years. Before he was a head coach, he was with the Dallas Cowboys. He knows what he's expecting. He knows how to, he knows how to navigate being a Dallas Cowboy coach and what comes with that, which there's a lot of media scrutiny. If you blitz when you should have went and been in the zone, every media outlet's going to cover you made a bonehead play. Even if it's a minor play, it's a bonehead play. So being able to handle the media scrutiny, also being able to handle, hey, Jerry Jones is going to be doing a show every week. Jerry Jones is going to be doing a press conference multiple times a week, which is not something that most owners do. No one cares if the owner of the Cleveland Browns has a weekly show or he does a press conference. No one's tuning in. No one cares. unless he says something incredibly foolish, it's not making news. Jerry Jones says, I want a turkey sandwich on rye. And I asked the defensive coordinator if he wanted one as well. That's going to be news. He's feeding the coach too much. He's doing this. He's doing that. Why not bread? Why not white bread? It's always going to be something when it comes to the Cowboys. So you have to have a coach that's used to this and can handle this. And I think also with a young defense, you need I think Zimmer's a better approach because Rex Ryan is a media guy. He likes the spotlight. That's why he loves being on ESPN. When he was with the Jets, is the whole Mark Sanchez thing and the Bill Belichick thing. He loves being, bigger than life, saying outrageous statements. The Dallas Cowboys do not need that. You're going to get enough attention by what Jerry Jones is going to say. There's enough attention on Mike McCarthy. There's enough attention on Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons. Now you're going to have a defensive coordinator who's going to say outlandish and very boisterous things out there. That's, I think, too much. The organization, in the long run, I think it's a better decision to have a more closer to the vest defensive coordinator who is not looking to make headlines. The Cowboys make too many headlines as there is. The Cowboys, I think one of the problems why the Cowboys haven't been able to get over the top is a lot of times because there's so much media scrutiny, there's so many cameras in front of the players, there's a lot of extra player pressure on a team that other teams don't have. It's kind of like me telling you beforehand, hey, I'm going to run over there and I'm going to say hi to my friends. If I'm not back in time, you got to carry the show. You're totally capable of carrying the show, but just the thought of it, it's like, oh boy, you start getting in your head like, okay, what am I going to say? What do I have to do? Oh, I haven't prepared for anything. You start thinking about these things right before a major game, and sometimes you're focusing on things that may not matter. That's the little difference between, hey, we're in the Super Bowl and another failed season because of all the extra pressure. So I think this is the right decision for the Cowboys. What do you say?
Well, when I was reading this, it said that before Minnesota fired him, he had reportedly created an environment where players dreaded going to work. So, are you concerned that this will be the same with the Cowboys, or because he's worked with the Cowboys in the past that this won't be an issue?
Absolutely not. And here's the reason why. And I'm so happy you brought this up. When you're in the NFL, these are grown men who are making millions and millions. And when you come with the cachet of making millions, you're also in the Minnesota media market. You have sometimes the whole concept of players who are a little pampered or, a little different. Well, it doesn't get any more pampered than being a Dallas Cowboy. And what I like about it is the reason why some of the players kind of felt this way was the fact that he's a no-nonsense guy. We don't have time for you to be in front of the camera trying to ham it up. We want you doing things the way it needs to be done and doing it right. That's why I said Zimmer is the better option. He's a coach that he doesn't care about the limelight. He cares about focus, doing things the right way, being prepared. The Minnesota Vikings, I watched Minnesota many year after year after year. They never made it to the Super Bowl. They never did. They didn't really light the world on fire, but they were a very competitive team every year. And when I looked at Minnesota's teams, a lot of times they weren't the most talented team. They had a lot of quality players, but they weren't the most talented team. But I felt like they always performed to their level of their talent, or if not even a little bit more. He got more out of his players than a lot of guys do. Dallas is a super talented team. No one questions that. The question is, when things get tough, can you get them to raise their competitiveness, their skill to the next level? When you looked at the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, 49ers went down, they kicked the ball. And if you looked at the players, they didn't look like, oh man, the pressure's on. They believed, we're going to march down this field, we're going to kick them in the teeth, and we're going to win this game. It was fourth down. They either make that first down or they don't make that first down and the game's over. No one looked tight. They knew they were going to get that fourth down conversion and keep moving the sticks. That's what good coaching does. It kind of gets you that next level. Good coaching, I'm going to use this another example. They talk about the big story in the Super Bowl is the players didn't know about the overtime rule. Well, and people were questioning, hey, did you even cover this? And Shanahan and one of the coaches, they even showed, yes, we covered it on this day, and this is when we covered it. Then they started asking the Kansas City Chiefs players, and they were like, yes, we covered it. Every single day, Andy Reid covered the overtime rules. Not only did they cover the overtime rules and scenarios, if we go down the field, if they get the ball and they score first, then we are going to go down the field and we are going to go for two to win the game. That's the attention to details that a great coach will do. And same with Zimmer when he's talking about him getting the players ready, no nonsense. You don't really need it, especially with the Cowboy organization and all the off the field distractions, all the press conferences, the shows by Jerry Jones, the way ESPN covers it, the way Fox covers them. You don't need your defensive coordinator sticking his chest out and talking this so that now your defense, Micah Parsons, hey, did you hear what Rex Ryan said? You need to answer this. Hey, did you hear what Jerry Jones said? Hey, did you hear what this person said? That person said. There's too much of that in Dallas. You didn't need to add another layer to this. That's why I think it was the right decision for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I think Rex could be a defensive coordinator for almost any team in the NFL. Heck, I think Rex could be a head coach for a lot of the teams in the NFL. But you don't need that in Dallas. There's too many distractions. That's my take on it.
Alrighty. Well, with that, guys, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing the eco-activists who glued themselves to the floor at a German supercar showroom.